So hello, everyone. My name is Valeria Morado. I'm Montecillo's brand manager. And first of all, I would like to thank you all for joining us today on such a special occasion, the 150th anniversary of Bodegas Montecillo. Our winemaker, Mercedes Garcia Ruperez, was supposed to be here today with us, but due to unexpected changes in the harvest, he wasn't able to make it. But we are happy and lucky to have here Rocío Osborne. She's the Global Communication Director and also sixth generation from the Osborne family. And maybe you have already known her due to her hard work with our brand. She joined the company more than 15 years ago. So thank you, Rocío, for being here with us in the winery.
Thank you, Valeria. It's a great pleasure for me for being here with you today. I'm sorry because of my voice. I apologize because it's a little bit rough, but I will try to do my best. So
if not, I will help you. But
yeah, thank you. So today we are here to talk a little bit more about Bodegas Montecillo history, values, and the wines. I'm sure that you got your tasting set, so we will be able to taste some of our wine jewels. And we are so happy to be able to share with you the fantastic history of the bodega, because it's one of the oldest bodegas in Rioja. It's actually the third oldest winery in Rioja, already 150 years old. Well, actually 151,
yes,
because it was founded in 1870 by the Navajas family. And after 3 generations of wine passion, my family, the Osborne family, bought it to the Navajas family in 1973. And we kept the Navajas philosophy, keeping the traditions and ensuring the quality of the wines, just taking a step forward with the wines and also bringing the wines to the international markets. So today, we are here, as Valeria said, to celebrate the 150th anniversary, and actually we are going to have the privilege of tasting the 2005 Gran Reserva Selección Especial. It's a very special wine, and I think we are very lucky today that we can celebrate and toast with you with this wine for the 150th anniversary of Montefio.
I'm now going to be thinking on that wine all the way. But
looking forward to taste it.
Yes, exactly. So before getting started, I would like to give you some tips. You will find at the bottom of the screen a case or a box where you can put your questions or your suggestions, your answer, your inquiries, and we will try to answer them at the end of the session in order to not to stop the flow of our conversation or presentation. We also have our IT guys right there. They are going to display some images and some pictures, some videos, so that we, in a way, bring Rioja to your homes or to your offices or where you are now. I also hope that you all have received your sets with the 5 wine samples. If you didn't put them into the fridge, hurry up, put them, especially the white, put them in the fridge, and we will tell you later on when to take them out. And I don't know if there are some other tips that we should remind them.
No, regarding the mechanic, I think that's it. But as Valeria was saying, we are here today in a very special building, right?
So. Yes, so let's start and let's go to the origin where we are. It's the founding winery. It's located in Rioja Alta. We are specifically in Fuenmayor, that means Rioja Alta. Rioja appellation is divided in 3 subzones: Rioja Alta, former Rioja Baja, which now is Rioja Oriental, and also Rioja Alavesa. We are here today in an historic winery standing on the 19th century cellars, so 500 meters below us. There are those bottles that you are seeing on the screen. We keep there bottles that dates back to the
1926.
Yes, 1926, that is more or less the origin of the appellation. And don't you think that we can start talking about where all start for us, that is?
Yeah, it's for us. We like to talk about what makes Montecillo wine so special, and for sure we have to start in the origin, in the vineyards, right? Because there is no great wine that can be made out of bad grapes. So for sure, what we need is great quality grapes to make these outstanding wines. So first, these viticultural practices that we do is we work with 1,000 small plots, because you have to think that Rioja is 65,000 hectares, but it's divided in very, very small plots. Average is around half an hectare. So they are like little gardens. This is because the families that they had these vineyards, they were giving these vineyards to their children and to their grandchildren as an inheritance. And this was divided and divided. So at the end, we have very, very small vineyards. So in total, as I said, we work with 1,000 different vineyards. That is very difficult to manage, but also it has great advantage because it's giving us a great diversity, lots of different characteristics, different personalities due to the soil, to the variety, to the location of the vineyard, the orientation, the sun, the irrigation, the water proximity. So this is going to give us this great
diversity, you know?
Variety of wines.
Exactly.
Right, well, variety of grapes that we will translate into a variety of wines. So these 1,000 hectares are managed by around 100 vine growers. So our agricultural team works closely with them through the beginning of the cycle of the vine, not only during harvest, but also during this cycle. So
so yes, in a way we work hand in hand with them.
We work together. Mm-hmm. We both want to achieve the best quality for the grapes. And actually, they feel like Montefio is their house, their home. And they are very proud to grow the grapes that at the end are going to make the Montefio wines. For us, it's very important because they are like family for us. Some of these farmers have been working with Montefio for more than 40 years. So these relationships are very special, and I always believed that these are part of the philosophical stone of Montefio. And in total, we manage 500 hectares, as I said, with all this diversity that, of course, we will translate it into.
Yeah, so in a way, I think that since Merche joined us, Merche is the name that we call our winemaker. Since she joined our winery, she was able to categorize those small plots that Rocío was speaking about. So that allows us to elaborate different wines that we are going to try later. And also, we not only have vineyards, I mean, in general terms, we have vineyards of more or less 30 years old in average, but also we have some special tiny plots that are more than 80 or 90 years old, and that is priceless for us because from that special plots, we are going to obtain greater wines.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, if we wanted to buy these vineyards, we wouldn't be able because this is part of this family's heritage. So it's something that we wouldn't be able to buy. So it's a great opportunity for us, at least to work with them and to get these fantastic grapes into our wines.
Yes, they are part of our family and they are how
they
feel. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, of course, we put emphasis on those old vineyards, and I think it's interesting that we think in the vineyard, the origin is the vineyard, and as you said, everything starts there, but then how we translate all those classification into our winery. So in that sense, the winery has, or we have at Montecillo cellar, a special room when we have, where we have different tanks, different deposits that allow us to vinify each of the plots separately, each of the vineyards separately, and also the varieties, according to the wines. Not only those, this is quite difficult to say it in English, but I'm going to try, truncated deposits, or B-shaped deposits, and also some eggs that is quite new for us, some flex tank that allow us to also not only elaborate some whites, but also some red wines. So that means that what we have in the vineyard, in a way, we have it also in the winery, in the cellar.
Yeah, it's very important that once we have this classification, we are able to keep this personality of these vineyards into the wines. So with these small elaboration tanks, we are able to keep this.
Yes, and to treat each plot differently or according to what they need. So in that sense, well, that's quite important as well as the time, no? Because we are in Rioja, we elaborate, I mean, we have a classic range, we have a crianza, we have a reserva, also a gran reserva, but we also have some special wines that we call signature, or vinos de autor in Spanish, signature wines, that we also elaborate in Bodegas Montecillo. So time is quite important for us. The Board of Control regulates the specific times for each of the categories I mentioned. But in that sense, time is part of our DNA, because we are an experts in crafting long-age wine. So the barrels are part of our crafting. We have had inside our house a cooperage facility, yes, and that gives us the mastery to develop all the barrels. But since we have a diverse range of wines, we work with small cooperages, not only from Spain, but also French cooperages, in order to not only have French oak barrels, but also American, some mixed as well barrels.
I think this is very important. It's one of the key facts, or the key points that make Montefio now so special, and it's the manage of the oak, trying not to overpower the wine with the oak, and also trying to highlight the fruitiness of the wines. And this, together with the bottle aging, I think these are two very important things that make Montefio so special, no? Like the Consejo Regulador, we have this. You are actually seeing on the screen our hand bottle underground cellar that is so unique. It's one of the largest hand stock underground cellars in Rioja. And actually, it's funny because you can walk on top and the bottles don't break. It's quite terrifying, but it works. Yes. And as I was saying, we follow the Consejo Regulador, the Appellation Control Board time regulations, but we exceed this time just giving the wines what they need, right? So we always exceed this aging, because the way we make the wines really request a little bit more time in oak and a little bit more time in bottle, but our focus is to craft wines that are gonna be in in perfect conditions for the consumers to enjoy when they buy the wine, right?
Yes, exactly. In that sense, we follow what the Consejo, with the Board of Control says, but we give them enough time, or the time that the winemaker considers, in order to have those wines that are balanced and rounded and ready to drink when they are released into the market.
I think it's very important, because sometimes in some regions they make fantastic wines, but I'm not patient enough to buy a wine and to keep it for 10 years until it's ready to drink. So I think it's great that not only Montefio but also the Rioja region age the wine for you in the best conditions possible, because we do it in our underground cellars, 30 meters under the ground, constant temperature throughout the year, 13 to 15 degrees Celsius, and also around 70% humidity. That it's the perfect conditions for aging the wines. I don't have the perfect conditions in my apartment, so
And
definitely
completely silent and darkness. So
yeah, that silent is definitely something that I don't find in my
Yes.
house. So the best place to age the wine is definitely Montecillo cellars.
for sure.
Yeah. So I think also it's very important to talk, and I think Valeria is a part of the team that has made this slow change. I mean, in the wine with the winemaking team, but also in the packaging that you see in the markets and in the marketing and communication tools that we have been using with Montecillo for the last years.
Yes, I strongly believe that Montecillo range, I mean, Montecillo wines have evolved in a good way. I like to say silent way, because it's been a constant evolution. Not in, I mean, and it's probably more effective or more clear when you taste the Crianza, Reserva, that you'll see that we are looking for that freshness, that fruit. In one sense, the classification of the vineyards allow us to look for that and to have it on our wines. And also with the techniques and the latest technologies advantages, as I mentioned before, that allow us to classify those wines and then be able to elaborate them. So I hope that you taste our wines with us and see that evolution. Like it.
I'm looking forward to taste. So we don't want to keep you more time.
Yes, we
listening.
can go
So
deeper.
Let's taste. Right?
Yes, let's move to.
So you just go to the fridge and take the white wine, right?
Exactly, and we move to our tasting set.
Yeah, it's like a TV set. Right?
Yes, they have prepared a precious, fantastic tasting set here.
I feel like a TV star.
Wow, yes. For you, it's, I don't know what time is there, but at around 3 o'clock,
Well,
maybe?
it depends if you're on the East Coast or on the West Coast.
Yes.
We are here, it's 9:15 p.m.
Yes.
So it's about time for drinking wine.
It's
and
perfect
maybe some dinner later. But
Yes.
let's start with the tasting.
Yes, we have here the bottles. We are, I mean, the bottles are already open. We have just opened before start, so they are ready. You have the tubes there. You have, I mean, you just open them and pour them. The 2005, that is a Gran Reserva, we have decanted beforehand, like 20 minutes before, in order that it open up and we can notice all the
Don't worry,
notes.
you don't have to do it.
You don't have to.
Because with the vials, the wine have already got some oxygen, so it's already open. So the decanting that we did, it's already actually done in the vial tube. So just open the wines, pour it into the glasses, and we can start the tasting.
Yes. So the idea today is that we have selected a range, I mean, some of the wines, so that you are able to see what we are capable of. And the first one that we have here is a white one.
It's the Montecillo barrel fermented 2020. It's a white wine that we have been working for many years before we got this style. Because when we work with young whites in Rioja, sometimes they can be a little bit boring. So we were very much focusing on trying to get the best of Rioja white varieties. So for this, we have selected 40% Tempranillo,
Tempranillo Blanco, then we have some, I mean, it's quite
Sauvignon
balanced,
Blanc.
the coupage, because you have the D.O.Ca, that is the white queen variety in Rioja.
Yeah.
It's not one of the most aromatic varieties, but as we have here in the glass vineyard that is more than 60 years old, you will notice that we are able to obtain fantastic wine with a lot of expressivity because the bunches there in that vineyard specifically are quite small. So they are all the aromas and the acidity concentrated, and that allow us to obtain the best out of that vineyard.
So we are talking about, as I was saying, and I lost the numbers, it was 40% Viura, 30% Sauvignon Blanc, and 30% Tempranillo White. So the Viura is going to give us like the backbone of the wine. It has the acidity, while the Sauvignon Blanc is also going to give us some freshness, and the Tempranillo White is also going to give us some white fruit that is going to be very interesting in the blend.
Yes, the three of them are varieties are allowed in the board of control. You know that we are in Rioja. The board regulates the varieties that we are able to vinify, and the three of them are allowed. So the Sauvignon Blanc is a 4-inch variety for us, but in this wine give us, well, when we taste it, we will notice that give us all the characteristics of the Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, so we harvest these varieties separately, and then we do some cold maceration before fermentation to extract more aromas and more intensity. After a couple of days of this cold maceration, we start we do some light pressing, and we start the alcoholic fermentation in these egg-shaped tanks that is going to also help us to increase the intensity of the aromas of the wines. And after this fermentation, we transfer the wine to French oak barrels, where we are going to do the malolactic fermentation partially.
Well, complete the fermentation there. Some of the varieties are there, as they are crafted separately, undergoes a malolactic fermentation. In this case, the Sauvignon is not, I mean, is the one that is not under malolactic fermented, exactly. And the last 6 months of, 6 or 4 months, 6 months of these, when the wines are still on the barrels, we carry out some batonnage in order to steer the lees, and you will notice then in the mouth the work that the winemaker has done here.
Yeah, so let's go to the wine. It has a beautiful nose, white flowers.
Yes, a lot of white fruit as well.
Some stone fruit as well. And I think one of the things that I love the most about this wine is the balance of the oak and the fruit. It's very important not to overpower the fruit notes, because the white fruits are quite delicate. So if we use lots of oak or a very heavy toast oak barrels, this will overpower the wine. So it's very important to find this balance.
Yes. Someone is asking us about the location of the vineyards. In this case, all of the 3 varieties came from Rioja Alta. They are located near the winery. That is a good point, because we source our grapes from plots that are actually near the winery, because when harvest arrive, we need them to be as close as possible to the winery, so that we
get them
can
as fast as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
On the palate, we see this work with the lees.
Yes.
The volume on the palate, the glycerin, the acidity is still there because of the Viura and the Sauvignon Blanc, but it's still also not so sharp. It's like round.
Yes, it's quite velvety, rounded.
And you keep getting
mouth.
these fruit, white fruit flavors. Some citrus notes also as well on the palate. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice by the minute.
silky, very glycerin, and also quite a gastronomic wine in order to pair with a wide range of dishes, not only Spanish one, but also
Wow.
Asiatic. Or
Sushi and sashimi would be
exactly,
great.
yes, that's it.
It's a very versatile wine.
Yes.
So let's move to the next one.
It's also, we didn't mention, but it's also interesting to say that we do only elaborate a limited quantity of
Very
this
small,
wine,
yeah.
very small, not more than 20,000 bottles per
Yeah.
year, so it's quite limited.
It's limited also because of the quality of the grapes we are sourcing.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. We here...
This is very important. We are going to taste now the Reserva 2014. So be sure that you take the right wine sample, because I don't know if you had the
tasting
order.
mat, and
Yeah.
in the tasting mat probably...
Is the edición limitada next.
Yes.
But we felt that since the white and the Reserva are in the same classic range and they follow the same wine philosophy, to taste them one
Together,
after
yes.
another, and then we will move towards the signature wines that Valeria was telling us before. So
Exactly.
let's taste the Reserva 2014. This
Yes.
is a
For
very
us-
successful wine in the US.
Yes.
I would say
One
it's
of
the
the-
US favorite.
Yes,
It
one
was
of
the 2013. The 2013 vintage was in the Wine Spectator Top 100 list, and it was number 25. What it was a great honor for us. This is 2014, and I'm sure it's as good as the 2013.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So here we have a classic blend
Yeah.
of Rioja with 92% of Tempranillo, red Tempranillo, and the other 8% is
Mazuelo.
Mazuelo. That is another great red variety of our region. So in this case, both of them come from also Rioja Alta. The Mazuelo in this case is a vineyard that is more than 50 years old. So imagine those vines, the
They are
bunches.
twisted.
Yes, exactly.
They
So
are, they are
it's-
in goblet, so it's hand harvest.
Exactly, it's a sandy soil. It's quite specific. I mean, it gives us a great variety. I mean, I
The
think it's quite
potential for
present.
the
Exactly.
potential for aging this wine and for keeping the wine so long time in the barrel and in the bottle is very important. That we don't work with young vineyards, and we really source for the best grapes that we can achieve. Actually, 2014 was a complicated vintage, and we only produced very, very small quantities of wine. And actually, you had the numbers, right?
Yes, as the vintage was one of the, I don't say the worst, but it was
Difficult.
quite difficult in,
Yeah.
in our region. We weren't be able to elaborate all of the wines. For instance, the 22 barrels that we are going to taste in that vintage, we weren't able, but
Even
that
the Gran Reserva.
exactly. So that allow us to select and to be quite exhaustive in the selection of the grapes. And if they don't reach the quality needed to elaborate that kind of wine, we transfer it to the lower
level.
yes, to
Yeah.
the next level. So in that means that we are going to have in 2014 an outstanding Reserva and probably an outstanding Crianza. So that says
Smaller quantities, but very good quality.
yes, that's
Okay,
it.
so we're talking, so both varieties are harvested, of course, separately, because they come from different vineyards and they ripe in different times. And then we get them into the winery. We do the alcoholic fermentation after some cold maceration also, to extract more aromas and more flavors. This is very important. One thing that we do for Montefio, especially Reserva, Gran Reserva, is that we run 5 to 10% of the liquid of the wine before fermentation to increase the contact of with the skins, because in the skins we have all these tannins, flavors, aromas, and polyphenols. So this is gonna give us a bigger wine with more potential and better quality, right?
Yes, in a way we are concentrating in order to elaborate or to craft a long-age wine.
Yeah, that's
right?
one of the things that we were saying Montefio is known for, long-aging wines. So after alcoholic fermentation, we run the wine to our concrete underground tanks, and we do the malolactic fermentation in the best conditions possible, because these are 1975 concrete tanks, but they work just perfect with the perfect temperature without using any electricity to cool them down. And then after malolactic fermentation, we transfer the wine to oak barrels. In this case, we are talking about American and French oak barrels. And here we are gonna age the wine for 26 months, followed by another 18 to 22 months in the bottle.
Yes, exactly. So if you like, we can start tasting, and when you put the glass into the nose, the first notes that appear for me are the ones that comes from the aging. The oak is present, but it's quite elegant, quite balanced.
I think it's very important also to talk, when we talk about vintages, we don't follow the same blend every vintage. It depends on the quality of the different vineyards. And I think this is because the knowledge we have achieved with the management of these vineyards, right? So following the harvest time, we know which vineyards are going to give us the best fruit, and then we do the coupage, trying to keep the style of the reserva. But that means that the coupage changes from vintage to vintage. What we're going to try is to keep a consistent quality and a consistent style of the wine.
Yes, exactly. But of course, as Rocío mentioned, the winemaker decides according to the vintage and the climate conditions.
Mercedes rules.
Exactly.
So let's taste the wine. On the nose, we see lots of dark and red fruit. I like it. It's very, very clean nose. The nose is very clean. I think this is very important because it's classic Rioja, but it's not old-fashioned Rioja style.
Exactly, and that's quite important.
Very important. This is one of the things that we keep highlighting, how the wines have evolved. And one of the things that I think it has improved the most is this super clean nose.
Yeah. As Ana said, I think that the oak notes are noticed in the first.
It's the first impression. You get the fruitiness,
but then you have
afterwards you get the spices of the oak, and very, very nice oak treatment, very good quality oak.
Yeah, some mineral notes as well. So let's taste them.
On the palate, you keep getting the fruit. The oak is I would say, it backs up the wine. And
you notice the tannin is present, it's quite softened, but also, as you said, the acidity, that it's going to help us or help the wine to have a long life.
For us, the acidity is very, very important. So in all the Montefio wines, you will feel a very fresh acidity. This is because of the soils of Rioja Alta especially, they give us low pH and high acidity wines, and this acidity is going to help us to age the wine longer, but also it's going to help us to invite you to drink another sip of the wine, because it cleans your palate while you are eating. So this means that the wine are super food friendly. Exactly. These wines are meant to enjoy with food, especially. I think, lamb chops, roasted lamb,
meat dishes, charcuterie,
Thanksgiving dinner, it's perfect.
Mature cheeses as well.
Yeah.
That goes perfectly with our reserva. Our suggestion is not to drink all of the glass, because if you are able to keep some of the wine in your glass, we can go back then and compare with the next one we are going to taste, and that's quite interesting in order to see how it's evolving in our glass.
So let's move to the signature wines.
Yes.
The next wine we are going to taste is a Montefio limited edition 2015.
Yes, for us, we were speaking a lot about our vineyards and how special they are and how we are able to classify them. So this is one of the wines for us, the signature wine or Vinos d'Autor. What that means, because some of you maybe are not some familiarized with the term. But that means that we released that wine as a generic. I mean, if you look at the back of the bottle, you will see that it doesn't say Crianza, Reserva, or Gran Reserva. That is what the Board of Control regulates in order to be able to release a wine under those categories. In this case, what the board says is that they guarantee the vintage, and that allows us, Merche, or the winemaker, sorry, because I'm continue saying Merche, and probably you don't know who is he, but she's our winemaker. So it allows her to elaborate or to craft the wines according to each of the vintage. So it means at the end of the day that she can be more creative, giving the wine
what it needs.
Exactly.
Especially because here what is important is the vineyards, the coupage, and not so much the timing. The timing is not going to be so important in the style of the wine.
Exactly, because this wine can
be
also be
reserva.
released
Could
as
be
a
as a
reserva, but
reserva.
it's not. So we like to say that it's probably one of the modern style of our winery. I think that maybe it's due to the coupage, that it has 30% of Graciano in the blend. And the Graciano that comes from Rioja Oriental, in this case, Rioja Baja. And that grape variety, it's quite difficult in terms that it ripens late. It has a long cycle, so you have to be quite patient. But if you manage the vineyard with a lot of effort and the proper task, you obtain a great quality of wine. And it's a grape that has a lot of color, a lot of acidity, and also structure. So you can find it in general terms in long-age wines, because it's going to give us the structure we need to age that wine.
And the other partner of the coupage is 70% Tempranillo from Rioja Alta, and it's also a Tempranillo that we specifically select for this wine, and it's going to give us all this fruitiness, this red fruit character that we are looking for in the wine. So both varieties are harvested in different times, and they come to the winery in different times as well, and they ferment in small tanks. And after alcoholic fermentation, we also do malolactic in our concrete underground tanks, and then we age the wine for 20 months in mixed barrels. That means that it has French covers and American staves. And then we do the coupage.
That's quite interesting, because it's not quite usual to make that. So
yeah, we use a little bit of these barrels in some of the wines, and the Edición Limitada is very special because the way it works with the wine, it's great. So it has these French covers and the American oak staves. So at the same time, we are giving the wine the characteristics of the French oak barrels and the characteristics of the American oak barrels. And then, as I was saying, after 20 months separately, we do the coupage, and we age the wine the last 6 months together, so they kind of become friends. They get to know each other.
Yes.
And after these 26 months aging in barrels, we bottle the wine, and we give the wine extra 2 years in the bottle, so we get a very balanced wine, integrated, and also very elegant, and the tannins get rounder.
yes, exactly. And that's probably one of the things that most of the critics and also consumers and most of you recognize and identifies and also values in this wine, because it's not quite often, and it's not easy to elaborate in that sense. So it's quite complex, and it definitely gives the wine a lot of characteristics that we are going to see.
And before tasting the wine, we said that the name is limited edition, and it's limited because we only produce around 40,000 bottles, and it's really limited. It's so limited that sometimes even the family and the employees, we don't get enough to buy, and then we have to wait until the next vintage. So
yes, exactly.
you can see in the screen now that every bottle is numbered and is signed by our winemaker Mercedes. And before getting to taste the wine, I think it's very interesting to see the colors of, if we take the edición limitada and the reserva in our hands, we are going to be able to see a great difference on the color. You see both. The Graciano, as Valeria was saying, the Graciano gives lots of color to the wine. So we are going to get a little bit more purple, a little bit more violet, and a deeper body, while the Reserva it's a little bit more ruby color and with a little bit lighter body. So here the Graciano really makes a big difference. I think you can see definitely if you change the glasses, you will be able to say which one is the edición limitada because of the color.
Yes, exactly.
So on the nose. Wow, it's very, very intense. We get lots of black fruit, and also I get very nice balsamic aromas.
Yes, a lot of minerality again, and the balsamic notes coming from the Graciano that it's quite present in the final blend. Some hints as well as cinnamon in the nose.
And again, you can see this Montefio philosophy behind the wine, even being a modern wine. I think you see this philosophy shared with the Reserva and the Edición Limitada, this balance between the oak and the fruit. The oak, it's helping the wine, but not overpowering the wine. The acidity is very fresh. And, also the alcohol in these wines are all of them around 13.5, what it's more difficult every day because of the global warming. So for us, it's very important to keep that also in balance and not to get overripe wines.
Exactly. The freshness in this wine is fantastic. I mean, the tannin as well is noticeable. I mean, you can feel it in the mouth, but it's quite integrated.
It's very
and
soft.
Very soft, yes.
Yeah.
So
it's your turn to
pour the wine.
Yeah.
So let's move to another signature wine. In this case, we are having 22 barrels. It's interesting to know why we call this wine 22 barrels. Our founder, Celestino Navajas, from the Navajas family, has inherited, when we look at our documents or our files, we found that he inherited a vat, a huge vat, where he elaborated or he crafted his wines. And that vat has the capacity of 22 barrels. I mean, that vat was equal to 22 barrels. So for this wine, our winemaker selected the best 22 barrels out of the crafting. And those are the only ones that are released under this brand.
22 barrels, 6,600 bottles.
Exactly.
Also number, so you can see how many bottles we make and which bottle is this out of the 6,600 bottles. And also, it's very special about the...
Yes, in a way,
the
it also represents like the old times. I mean, in the old times or at the beginning of the last century, you can find in Rioja some plots or some vineyards where you can find, or you were able to find, not only red varieties, but also some white ones as well. And the vine growers at that time used to harvest all at the same time and also vinified all of them at the same time, co-fermenting them. In this case, we are trying to emulate that, but not precisely harvesting the four red varieties all together, but just selecting the best of them, which are located near, again, the winery, and also crafting or vinifying them separately as well.
Yeah, they are in little towns, just very, very close to the winery. And this is a 50% Tempranillo, 30% Graciano, 15% Garnacha, and 5% Mazuelo. So as Valeria was saying, it has the 4 queens of Rioja all together.
Yes.
And well, the majority is really Tempranillo and Graciano. So we are gonna see a great deal of this of these grapes in the wine. But at the same time, Garnacha, Mazuelo gives a little bit more of personality to the wine as well.
Yes, I think that it's a great classic Gran Reserva from Rioja wine that we are quite proud of because we have released it in 2008. I mean, that was the very first vintage. And then we have the 2010, and now we are in 2011. And we will not craft it in 2012, 13, 14, but the next vintage we are going to release is the 2015.
Yeah. So only very special vintages.
Yes, exactly.
When the climate is really good to make this kind of wine, because sorry, the wine is gonna age very long time, both in barrel and in bottle. So we are gonna need lots of complexity from the grapes, long aging potential, acidity, fruitiness, polyphenols, all together. So the wine is able to. I mean, it's already a 10-year-old wine, and you can see the color is still not developed at all. It's still very lively.
Yes. It's important also to mention that the 2011, it's probably one of the best vintages that we have here in the last 20 years in Rioja. So it's an outstanding wine that we are quite proud of because all of the, not only the consumers and also the trade, but also the critics has been scoring and rated this wine with fantastic scores since its release.
So when we harvest these 4 varieties, we harvest them in very small boxes.
Yes, cases.
Cases, and we bring them to the winery where they ferment separately in very small tanks, trying to achieve the best of each vineyard. So at the end, we have this nice and balanced wine that is gonna age for it's like 32 months, sorry. It's like 32 months in French oak barrels, and then 5 years in the bottle. So in here, we are gonna give the wine a great deal of bottle aging because it needs time to soften, to get the tannins round and integrated, so we get the perfect conditions to enjoy the wine right now.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to keep it in your cellar. You can keep it in your cellar in case you want to see how it matures, how it gets more complexity, but it's already super enjoyable.
Yes.
So also, this is a wine, as we were saying, that it's a very small production. So the way we work is with small allocations for the different countries. So for America, we are gonna have special release that is gonna be available
as a pre-sale and can be ordered by contacting local Everton area manager.
Yeah.
So the special wines that we have, that we are tasting today, such as the white wine barrel fermented, the limited edition, as well as the 22 barrels and our jewel that we
will talk about it
later, just in a few minutes, will be available in that way.
Yeah. So tasting the wine, if we get our nose into the wine.
The nose is.
It's
amazing. It's
Rioja, 100%
quite
Rioja
expressive.
style.
Yes.
It's very, very aromatic, nice complexity.
Yes, a lot of red cherry notes.
It has a little bit of like plums. Has also some minerality, a little bit like graphite. And also I get like black licorice.
Yes. You are the more, I mean, the nice thing about this wine is that when you open and you keep it in your glass and you wait for them, or you
come
have
back.
it for a whole meal, for instance.
It keeps changing.
It's, yes, it continues evolving, and a lot of layers appear. So it's
And it's pure silk. I mean, you drink the wine, and the tannins are so soft, so round, that it feels like drinking silk. It's very, very smooth. And you keep, I mean, it's a 10-year-old wine, and the fruit is there. You can see these French oak barrels, that it's a very high quality oak. As I was saying, helping the wine, backing up the wine, but not overpowering your palate.
Yes.
So I think that's very important.
Yes, it has a a good level of acidity that
As well,
is
yeah.
an amazing freshy fruit as well. So to us, it's an outstanding
It's a beautiful wine.
Gran Reserva from Rioja.
As I was saying, you can drink it now, or you can keep it for 15, 20 years, and the wine is going to be fantastic.
Exactly. And in terms of pairing, we have experienced some, some surprising pairings, as pairing it with some desserts made of dark chocolate, and goes fantastic, but as well as Mediterranean cuisine, or some different
Steaks as well.
Steaks, of course.
This is, I see this wine very with a nice steak.
Yeah, why not? Well,
So
remember that here in Spain we are at almost 10 o'clock at night, and we're speaking about pairings.
Where is my steak?
Yes, exactly.
I'm getting hungry.
So time for the
last
to
but
taste.
not least.
Exactly.
This is the Jewel, the super wine that we are gonna be able to taste tonight. The Gran Reserva Selección Especial 2005 150th anniversary. It's a long name for a incredible wine, so it really deserves this long name.
Yes, because it's also released for such a special occasion, such as 150th anniversary. So it's a great wine, not only because of that, but and the vintage, but because as well of the vineyard it came from, right? Because we were speaking about different plots in this Gran Reserva Selección Especial, 150th anniversary. We have a specific plot, and in the same plot, in the same vineyard, we can find the 3 different varieties that made this wine: the Tempranillo, the Graciano, and also the Maturana Tinta. And the 3 of them are harvested together and also vinified together. So imagine the difficulties that it implies in terms of tasks that need to be done in the vineyard, so that you can harvest them all together, and you have to be able to have the fruit ripened at the same time. And it is possible due to that exhaustive work.
Yeah, definitely. So with this blend, right, 70% Tempranillo, 20% Graciano, and then we have 10% of Maturana Tinta. That it's actually what you will recall a Trousseau grape in the Jura region. So it's a grape that is going to give us some pyrazine notes, like green pepper, like the Cabernet Sauvignon does, right?
Yes.
So it's a small quantity, only 10%, but it's definitely very present in the wine.
Yes, and these wines, I mean, these kind of wines, the Gran Reserva Selección Especial, that maybe you have seen some old vintage in your market, is not crafted each year or every vintage, but only when you have the potential or the specific fruit that will allow you to have this kind of wines. We have at the cellar a lot of old vintages. In this case, we elaborated specifically when we found those specific fruit or those outstanding vineyards, and they have. We are quite strict in that way. We keep the wine in our cellar for 15 years
minimum.
5 years more or less aging in barrels, and the rest in bottles. So it's quite complex. And
yeah, and it's aged in French oak barrels. And what we do here, it's also very small quantities. Here we are talking about 2,800 bottles. So, I mean, it's the quantity that we can achieve for this kind of quality, right? So,
Yeah.
and even these kind of vintages only happen 2-3 times every 10 years. So it's very, very special that we get this wine today. It's already 16 years old, so it's nearly over age,
yes.
over legal age in Spain.
Also, it has been.
Wow. You can see the color, it's amazing.
Yes.
It's still, still the deep cherry color with a little bit of brick rim, but not so developed. So it's still super alive.
Yes.
I'm losing my voice.
It's amazing to see the color of the wine with that age. I mean, and when you put the glass in the nose, you still have, I mean, it's quite complex. You notice those green peppers you were mentioned before due to the Maturana tinta.
Also this super mature, like
yes,
compote, fruit,
yes.
like marmalade.
And for me, it's like a perfume in the nose.
Oh, it's so complex. You can keep smelling the wine and getting new aromas all the time. You get also some leathery, smoky notes.
Mushrooms as well. Some.
See, you keep talking about food.
Well, and the palate is quite elegant. I mean, the tannin is present, but it's so, I mean, it's quite rounded, quite velvety. So, we also are quite happy with this wine because Decanter has given us 92 points. Also, Tim Atkin, the Master of Wine from Great Britain, has given the wine 94 points, and that speaks about the quality and the greatness of this Gran Reserva.
And again, as all the Montefio wines, we were talking with this very long aging potential. This wine, now you can enjoy it because we aged the wine in the cellar for you. It's great now, but if you keep it, you'll be able to see how the wine evolves, how it gets more mature, more complexity, and you can see this wine in 20, 30 years' time, how it's going to evolve. Actually, it reminds me a little bit about 1975 or 1994, and we have seen how these wines have evolved, and these wines are beautiful. They are really worth keeping. I'm not really good with patience, so
yes,
I'm not the one that really keeps the wine. I'm the one that drinks the wine. But if you have the patience, this is a fantastic opportunity to get some of this wine into your cellar collection and enjoy it. Maybe one now, one in 5 years, one in 20 years.
If they are able to get one bottle, because as we said before, we only have less than 3,000 bottles, so that's quite interesting. I mean, it's really, we are really proud of this wine because it's one of those Gran Reserva from Rioja that are fantastic for collectors, for wine lovers, and also for
it's classic Rioja.
To drink right now.
It's really classic Rioja. So if you like Rioja, you will love these wines. So,
yes, I don't know. Well, this is the last wine that we have prepared for you. Hope that you have enjoyed all of them. They have different things to show us, but I think it's a great selection of wines to see how Montecillo has evolved those last years. So I don't know if you have more questions. We have answered the questions that you were sending us through that box during the tasting.
Yeah. Before saying goodbye, I would like to say especially hello to my friends in Everton, especially to Sim, that sent us a little bit of a hello through the questioning. So
yes, we have last question about the harvest. We are finishing the harvest last week. We finished the harvest. Probably it was one of the latest and the slowest harvest we have had in the region. It's probably going to be remembered for that because it has been quite cold as well, and that means that cold and rainy at the harvest time, and that means that you obtain at the end small yields, and that it's a great news because we are going to have a fantastic 2021 wines.
Not lots of volume, but very good quality.
Exactly.
So thank you again for joining us. Let's toast for to celebrate these 150 years and to another 150
Of course,
more.
yes.
And to join you maybe in the States or for you to come to visit us. So you get
Hopefully,
to know more about Montefio. And well, we hope that you enjoy today with us. And well, cheers.
Celebration. Cheers. Thank you, Rocío, and thank you,
Valeria.
all
Thank
of you.
you.